Minneapolis City.
Post goals! What about that? What about
The People's Pitch Podcast, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
What is up, soccer fans? Did you miss us? That is an absolutely stupid question because the answer is yes. Yes, you did. 2 weeks is a long time, but we are back at it. This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City SC Crows. I am John, and outside of one episode in 25, I am joined by the Garth Algar of Minneapolis Soccer and Minnesota Podcast, Mr. Nate Morales. Nate, 2 weeks is a lot of time for you to get yourself into a lot of soccer business because it's everywhere right now. What have you been up to, sir?
Well, man, I've been watching a lot of 9-year-olds play soccer down in Kansas City. Got to go see a Sporting KC game with the boy.
Oh, nice. How was the outcome of that one?
That was good, man. They won 2-0. I'd never been to an MLS game before.
And
it was, well, let's just say Tech 9 opened the game.
Okay.
Yes. They brought Tech 9 in to rap to get people pretty pumped up. So the white people were into that. And it was fun. It was cool. It was a cool atmosphere. It was just one level stadium. It's just kind of like
it's a cool stadium.
Yeah, and in tandem with the MLS announcement regarding Minnesota United, it got me a little excited for some MLS soccer to come to Minneapolis.
Well, I have a little bit of a reputation in Kansas City. Not only is it the land of fountains. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't. I only saw like one fountain.
Yeah, for some reason it's like the capital of fountains or something like that. In the United States, I don't know.
That's lame.
Did you go into the beer hall?
No, beer hall.
You didn't go into the beer hall there? They have this huge European-style beer hall that's within the stadium that has a huge wall of scarves. And about 6 years ago, we drove an RV with 11 guys from Stegman's down for a match to see Sporting KC play the Red Bulls when Thierry Henry was playing. What? And we put our Stegman scarf up on the wall. And what I should have done is told you ahead of time and had you place a Minneapolis City scarf on the scarf wall.
I totally brought it because I have an extra. Oh, shoot. How did I miss that?
Yeah, I was
looking for a good beer all over that stadium.
You obviously didn't look far enough and wide enough, but it's really cool. And it's open before and after games, so you can go in there, drink a couple beers, and the party gets going right after. The second instance was I actually had my bachelor party at the USA Jamaica qualifier in KC and went down there before the last World Cup. That's
a real weird place to go for a bachelor party.
Yeah, I can do whatever I want. It was my day.
Yeah, I guess.
So we just rolled into KC for that qualifier and just made it a blast. It was a good time, but I've come to know that I don't like Las Vegas. I love Kansas. Kansas City is my Las Vegas.
Really?
When I go there, I don't sleep. I just eat barbecue all the time.
Oh, we ate some barbecue, man.
Really great spot called Taco Republic, which is across the street from one of the popular. And I promise, folks, we're going to get into soccer here in a second, but we're giving you a little tour of Kansas City here. Right across the street from one of the most popular barbecue joints is this awesome taco place called Taco Republic. So when we went there for the qualifier, everyone's like, oh, we got to go to this place. And I'd already been there. So I was like, I'm going to hit that taco stand up. And it had like
was it like Joe's was the barbecue place?
What's the other one?
Oh, Arthur Bryant's or LC's.
I think it was that one.
Okay.
But it was just funny because they had like a patio with beanbag toss, and I rolled over there with some of the guys, and we're like, we don't want to stand in line for the freaking gas station barbecue stand. So we went over to the taco place and ended up going back the next day after the game.
Taco, man. Well, now I know. Now it's like sounds like something we're gonna do a lot.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into a little bit of MLS talk in a bit here, so we can bring that back up again. But as far as what we're going to cover today, might as well roll right into the obligatory loons to the MLS talk. We'll also talk PLA Team of the Year that was announced today via the internets. The U.S. Open Cup final roster and updates. I mean, that's the most important city news that's going on right now. Outside of a little segment that we'll have here throughout the off season for city what city players are doing at school. We have just a couple fistfuls of guys that are all over the country playing soccer, and I've been keeping in contact with them, talking through camp and seeing how things are going, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. But yeah, that's what we're going to cover today.
Sweet. So unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the Minnesota United will be joining the MLS next year as of 2017. So I guess, the big announcement this last week was that they threw us a bone and they let us keep the United name, #ForeverUnited, John. So are you grateful for the scrap of jerky that our soccer overlords have thrown us?
The magic Don Garber. First off, did you say unless you were living in Iraq?
Under Iraq.
Oh, okay. I'm sure if you were living in Iraq, you wouldn't have got the news either. But as far as the #ForeverUnited, I got a little bit of a problem with that. Knowing a little bit of inside news that I found out that hashtag was actually and actually that URL was purchased by the club well before the announcement was made. So remember back when it was like Atlanta's going to be called Atlanta United, and they're going to take it away from us, and we're not going to be Minnesota United. Everyone was all up in arms. Yep. I feel like that was fabricated by the league in an effort to create publicity and buzz for this, and to get people kind of fired up for the wrong reason, in order to pull the rabbit out of the hat and say, oh no, you're gonna get it. But to your point though, I think that it's about time Minnesota didn't have to change their name from a soccer standpoint. I mean, it's been like something like 5-6 names in the last 40 years of soccer here.
Yep.
It's just time to let it go. But now they're being tossed in the Western Conference, and that kills any Midwestern rivalry we would have with Columbus Crew or the closest team to us, which would be the Chicago Fire.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Right, it makes sense. But because Atlanta, again, totally screwing us, was entered in around the same time, they're going to obviously geographically be put into the Eastern Conference. So now we're out in the West. So we have to create our rivalry with none other than Sporting KC, which to me is great because we get a chance to travel if we want to. And one of our Stegman's talisman, Daniel Warner, who we've talked to on the podcast before, and at the kit launch, and he runs one of our Stegman's teams. He's still a season ticket holder because he is from Kansas City. So I have some future trips to KC, I think, in my future, at least once or twice a year to see them play. But now the United has to travel to the West Coast. They have to go to Portland, Vancouver, California. So that's a lot of travel from Minnesota, and it's not necessarily like going to Chicago or Ohio.
Yeah, I mean it's an unfortunate line that they've drawn that we're not going to be playing against Chicago. I could care less about Ohio, but like it makes sense for people that follow hockey, like let's say, because we're playing Colorado, we're going to play Dallas, Houston, like everything for the most part in our time zone and West.
I mean, even the NBA gets it right?
Yeah, I mean some non-conference games would be nice. I'm not sure how the schedule is gonna fall. So I'm sure we'll get opportunities here and there, but
we'll have a chance to throw our scarf up on the scarf wall.
That's for sure. I'm excited about that. So preseason starts in January, and that's like tomorrow in sports terms. How are we going to get any damn players, man? I guess that's kind of my next step or my next thought process is, wow, I really want to get excited about this team, but the way that, I don't know if they're going to be able to match up the way they are now against the likes of the Seattle Sounders.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's two different ways through the draft. So there's the expansion draft, which is each team is allowed to protect a certain number of players, usually protecting their designated players. So they'll be able to do that. And then the rest of the players that aren't protected go into the expansion draft. And then Minnesota has the opportunity to select, I believe, up to 10 players in the expansion draft. So right there, you're going to get some pretty decent hitters as far as guys that you can bring in to fill out your roster and to kind of be your go-tos for your starting lineup. Also,
with some veterans, some experience.
Yeah, usually it's veterans. I think the one guy that I've been hearing that's not being protected is Brad Davis, or Brad Evans. Excuse me, the defender who's had multiple cups of coffee with the U.S. national team. He'd be a great guy to bring in from a leadership standpoint. I thought they actually missed out. And actually, we'll get into this in a second. But the next step is the MLS Super Draft, which every team's entered in. So your normal draft process that happens in American sports. So you have that process. Then you have your free agency process. So what I was trying to get at before, and this makes more sense to talk about it now, was just your general signings that you can do from now until they enter. And there's a rule in the MLS that I feel like we meaning Minnesota United has not taken advantage of, and that's that they can sign any player they want for as much money as they want, and it won't count against their salary cap as they move into the league as an expansion franchise. So, for example, Ronaldo, 170 million whatevers, Bitcoin.
200 grand a week.
200 Bitcoin, whatever he costs. We could sign him for whatever we want right now, and he wouldn't count against our cap. So you could build your Galacticos super team if you wanted as an expansion franchise going in, and we haven't really taken advantage of that. But one particular signing that I think would have made sense, but now seeing that he went to New England, was Cody Cropper, the goalkeeper, who's from Minnesota, who played for the youth national system with the United States. Kind of the bright shining star from a goalkeeper perspective, and a long line of really good goalkeepers to come out of Minnesota, including the newer crop of Brennan Rennie and our own Duncan Whirling. No brainer. Should have signed him, right? Because he's a homegrown player.
Should have jumped on him, but unfortunately the signing came a little early.
Right.
They signed coincidentally a week before the announcement.
Right. So definitely a whiff there. The other player that I've been hearing about was one that was actually tipped to play with us if his national team commitments would have allowed it this summer, which is Jackson Ewell out of UCLA, the midfielder.
Yeah.
Voted the best college midfielder in the country as a sophomore. Rumblings are that he's going to forego after this year and potentially sign as a homegrown player because he was within the Thunder Academy, the MTA DA before he went to college. So he can be signed as a homegrown player, which I think that has to happen, especially for these guys to get that local flavor. Because we saw from our perspective how much people get behind local players.
Yeah, they did the same. Seattle did the same thing with Jordan Morris, right? They signed him as their homegrown player.
Right.
Yeah.
So then the last piece is the current players on the roster, and I think that there's not a whole lot actually.
We've got a few, and I think off the top of my head, you've got Spies, Ramirez, maybe Davis,
Venegas,
but I don't know anyone else really that could make the leap.
I mean, you have Jeb Brofsky, who's got some MLS time. You have Coleman, I think, is a good defender. Maybe a little bit slow for the MLS, but he's still younger. Blake, the Englishman that they just signed. Maybe Ibsen. I think he kind of falls in the same category as Coleman. A little slow. Good, really good at the NASL level. And then there's Jamie Watson, who's been with the club forever. Local favorite, maybe not being from here locally, but everyone seems to love the guy. Maybe a swan song tour as a thank you for a guy like that. I think they get it really wrong if they don't bring him in from a fan perspective, but what we've seen with Minnesota United is they don't necessarily make the best decisions. So, but I will be a fan. I will get season tickets. I'll go to the games. I'll cheer them on. I still hope the reserve team can shove it twice a year if they're in our league. Word is that their reserve teams for MLS have to be affiliated with the USL. So there's an opportunity for us to lose Minnesota United reserves in our league. However, through our channels, we're hearing that they potentially could get a pass for the first year, especially with the stadium deal and all that jazz happening. So that we might get one more year of Minnesota United reserves, and probably them caring even less about the team than they did this year with as far as how they're concerned. So anyway, so that's kind of the breakdown for those guys. Any final thoughts you have on Minnesota United?
No, man, I just think that the Twitter chatter is kind of both. It's kind of black and white. You got to be either all for it and super pumped about it, or there's guys that are totally against the MLS in general. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of in the middle. I wish that we had a different system of soccer here in the United States, but that doesn't mean I'm not excited to see what will happen, especially living nearby to where the stadium is going to be. I'm kind of excited to see how everything's going to come to fruition here with the new Minnesota United. I'll go to some games, man.
And I'll sit right next to you, Nate.
All right.
I mean, as far as my take's concerned, I'm excited for high-level soccer. Whether it's our team, Minneapolis City, and our level and us being at the highest point at our point in the pyramid, but that's going to be top-notch soccer in our country, and I feel for it. I'm going to get behind it, but there's no, I have friends that work within the club, and there's no doubt that I don't agree with what they do and how they do things, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to enjoy the soccer. So enough about those guys and MLS and the evil empire that it is.
Yeah, let's talk about us.
Let's talk about the PLA Team of the Year. We all know, City made a big splash this year, being in its first season, and the league agrees. City put 3 players in the all-division team, all in the starting 11 as voted by the coaches. So obviously great recognition. So,
wow.
Each team was allowed to nominate players, and then the coaches for each team had to then select their best 11. So that's kind of how it shook out. City folks did not vote for anyone in the Eastern Conference, so it was only within your conference.
Only guys you had a chance to see firsthand.
Right. So we had, like I said, we had 3 players put in the starting 11, and there was also, I believe, 5 or 6 players on the bench. I don't have it pulled up here as far as who was on the other team, but I will pull that up.
On the east side?
No, I mean on our actual in our division.
Oh, I got it.
You got it. Okay, well, when we get to that point, I'll have you jump in then. So, First off, we had Abdallah Ba, who was voted Team of the Week every single week that he had played in, and was the overall second leading vote getter from an individual standpoint from all the coaches. So, hats off to Abdallah, who, we said it enough. The guy was a complete rock on the outside for us this year, and one of the only college players that was selected within the team of the year. The next person, Ben Wexler. I mean, what do you really say about Wexler other than well-deserved from a great guy and a great player? Lunch pail guy, just went out there and played some soccer. Good dude on and off the field. And then finally, what some in some areas thought was a surprise, considering the Bavarians who littered the team with players, deservedly so. I mean, they were a great team, but Matt Elder, our goalkeeper, went from being basically from the operating table a year ago with his broken leg to being named goalkeeper of the division, and he's only getting better. But I think very well deserved, as we noted, giving him our Player of the Year award on the show. But he was handed and he's also handed the coveted Stegman armband for the U.S. Open Cup roster as our captain. So we're glad to have him, and we're likely going to need him to come up big on and off the field. But he came up big all season. I felt Jim Jones from the Bavarians, who was the backup, as voted by the coaches from the Bavarians, I thought was deserving. However, he didn't face as much adversity or as many shots. Not to say that our defense was porous by any means, but he did most with the chances he was given.
Yeah. So the rest of the team, if you haven't taken a look, it's right at Premier League's front page there at PLAsoccer.com. But we've got 5 Bavarians made the first team, which is all season we've been saying these guys are the cream of the crop. They wholly deserving to have won the league. So you've got the Andrick brothers, Brandon and Logan.
I think Logan's the only whichever one of those two is in college still. Was the only other college
the only
player.
other college guy. Scott Lorenz, Danny Jaros, who somehow can play everywhere on the field, but he made it as a defenseman. And then Dagara Zamani, who I don't remember seeing.
He played against us here. He didn't play against us there.
Okay. And then otherwise, we've got a couple Croatians. Like you said, by the way, Jones, the Bavarians goalie,
made the backup roster.
Made the backup squad, yeah. You got to get 3 Croatians, 1 backup, two on the main squad. So Diego Bobadilla.
I'll say Bobadilla, yeah.
Yep, who I remember announcing when they were here. Love that name.
Rolls off the tongue nicely.
Andrew Weidebach, who was just a goal-scoring machine all season.
Right.
Totally deserving of that. And then Rhodey is the backup on the sub squad. No anti-cop, which is a bummer.
I know. He made the all over 40 team.
And then we have we have a lone representative on the subs from both the United Reserves and the 56ers, each getting their one guy. Whitney Brown, of course, for the reserves. And Bradley. Who is A. Bradley?
Alex Bradley. He was the forward
Bradley.
for...
That's the guy that we were always worried about. But I don't think we played against him when we were in Madison, did we?
No. He actually, I don't believe, finished the season with the team. I don't know why, but...
So we never saw him because when we were here, we did see him when we were here.
When we were here, he definitely played,
but
we
didn't see him in Madison.
No, we did not. And then, of course, Crapids put 2 players on. The division-leading vote-getter, Boner McBonerson, Gordy Gerson of Cedar Rapids.
Your best friend.
What's that?
I said he's your best friend. You know it.
Man. That guy is well documented as being a taint of a human being, but he does score goals.
Scores a lot of goals, man.
And apparently that's what it takes to win soccer games. And, take nothing away from the fact that he is a good soccer player, but his attitude is just awful. And then the Citizens' favorite player, Mr. Man Bun.
Man Bun. Charlie Bales. Actually, I was telling you, the thing with the 2 Cedar Rapids guys, going into Cedar Rapids and watching Gerson play, I had a lot of respect for the guy. I was excited to see him play. But I had no idea who this Bales dude was. And everyone in the stands was talking about him down in Cedar Rapids. And I'm thinking, come on, what kind of a leg can this guy have?
Just like an NFL field goal kicker.
It's just a cannon of a leg. I don't think that's a metaphor that is acceptable in soccer. But anyway, just the guy's leg is insane. He's a free kick master. He's like you said, probably not the greatest defender at his position, but pretty fun player to watch. So
dude can knock a long ball.
He's making it.
Yeah, I mean, I am too. Out of all those guys, I had more respect for him than I did Boner McBonerson.
Yeah, but Bill's kept his mouth shut.
Yeah, exactly. And our fans were giving him crap the whole game, and he gave him a wave, and went over and shook their hands after the game. And unlike Gerson, who thought it was a great idea to interrupt our team talk just to say good game to all of us, that didn't go so well for him. So. Anyways, that rounds out the team. Hats off to all those guys. Congratulations for making the team. Everyone except for Gerson. And I thought that the 3 guys we had were well deserving. I think the only player who maybe got slighted from our team would be Trey. I thought Trey was well deserving of at least the bench spot, but definitely a starting spot. But I think that was kind of overshadowed by the pairing that the Bavarians had in the middle of the field in the back line. So another guy, AO, could have probably been on there too. Maybe Goose if he would have had a whole season.
Yeah.
Will Kidd was our Golden Boot winner and more decorated and probably a little more seasoned forwards are on the roster. But if there was an effort award, he would have definitely got it. But anyways, that rounds out our team. And no disrespect to the East Coast, but we really don't care who was on that. But congratulations to all of the gentlemen who made it. I'm sure there was, from what I saw, sprinkled in a couple guys from Adria, a couple guys from Toledo, maybe some guys from the Purple Rain. Olay probably got one guy, but no one really cares about that. Anyways, so that's your team of the year.
Yeah, man. So, John, we can't stop. We won't stop soccering. We got to keep talking about the soccer. It's the U.S. Open. It's U.S. Open Cup time, man, and we have some news for the people. First of all, of course, the draw for the U.S. Open Cup tournament was announced last week, and we basically hit the jackpot. If you haven't gathered from all the Twitter chatter people,
soccer is a gift, to quote Coach Jeremy, and we definitely did hit the jackpot as far as this round of the tournament is considered. Like the PLA throughout the season and the buzz that we created on social media, it was radio silence the day the draw was supposed to happen. And then it was blasted completely apart by all the Twitter jibber jabber from all of you citizens. So thank you. Blasting the U.S. Open Cup community. Like, why haven't we heard about who's in the draft or the draw? How come we haven't heard where we're playing or who we're playing? And I think we just peppered the living hell out of those guys to the point where they were like, we're behind, we messed up, we're getting at it. But like you said, jackpot. When it was announced, the soccer gods definitely smiled upon us as we were handed not only a first round bye, so no one can ever take away from us the fact that we advanced past the first round of our first and only
happened
in our history. But we're hosting the second round match, so jackpot.
Yeah, and I mean that's amazing for us because like we talked about a couple weeks ago, the matchup is regional. So we would have had to go potentially Michigan, maybe Kansas, if we're lucky, Iowa, but Colorado is in the mix.
Maybe
so
Ohio.
There's maybe Ohio. So it's not negligible travel. Like the travel involved with advancing in this tournament is going to get crazier and crazier. So it's super nice to have this second round home match.
Right, especially because when it comes to drawing at the gate, we're not going to go give someone else our money, right? Because we're definitely going to travel. We're going to be like Wisconsin sports fans that travel everywhere, right?
Yeah.
We're going to bring people wherever we're going to go. It might be 2, it might be 20, it might be 200, depending upon how far the travel is. But we're going to bring some folks with us. But now we have the opportunity to create the buzz within our own city and our adjoining neighbors across the river in St. Paul. And take the gate and really put it towards our bottom line in the ledger, right? And if we know anything, we know how to put on a show. So I hopefully think that that's what they were thinking when they did the draw. But it was completely random. They put the teams with it that are closest geographically in a hat, basically, and pick out the teams, and they try to make it friendly. So what we saw and what we get in our second round matchup is the winner of Ann Arbor FC and PLA East member Oakland County. Ann Arbor actually was in the inaugural PLA season, and I believe they lost to Adria in the final, and then they jumped over to the MPLS. So we will get details on those guys in about 2 weeks, but part of me really wants a piece of an Eastern Conference PLA team. And plus their supporters group is trying to take Prince from us and calling themselves Purple Rain, and we want him and his legacy back. And perhaps we play for pink slips on Prince's lifeless body.
I cannot wait for these chodes to get into town pretending like they're some sort of a Prince fan club with their Purple Rain banners and all this garbage and just get shouted down. I hope to God we play Oakland County, but I will accept a match against Ann Arbor FC. They seem like pleasant people.
Right. And I think what we know about these teams from the summer is that they're going to be a little bit thinner because of the fact that they're losing their college players like we did. However, I feel like we, from a veteran standpoint and from a quality standpoint, did not drop off, but with the players that we're about ready to get into from our final roster. But who knows? We know we won't be seeing Boner McBonerson, which is good. So unless he's latched onto some team in Michigan, I don't think his antics have made its way across Lake Michigan yet. But
hope not. If once you get into Cedar Rapids, you never leave Cedar Rapids. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
We talked about some potential players last time out, but we have a final roster now that I want to go over that you have officially signed and delivered.
Yeah, you saw the official paperwork today.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. So, of course, there's some familiar faces, right? And we talked about them last time, too. Our captain, Matthew Elder, good old E-Man, Emmanuel Brown, Ben Wexler, PLA, Team of the Year member. If you want to keep going, who else we have?
Sure, we got AJ Albers, the beast from the East.
That's sweet.
AO, Tim Willis, Brian Chapman.
Brian's back, so it's good to see.
Yep, Brian's back. Ryan Camerata was a late addition. Played with us 6 appearances this year. One man of the match in the first ever Summit Keg match against Fargo.
Yeah.
Oh, bad news. Speaking of Fargo, found out today Fargo is folding.
No.
Yeah, due to financial reasons, and I think that maybe next time we'll put a line item. We'll find out a little bit more about that. But our frenemies to the west, immediately to the west, have folded. So we'll get the details on that, and we'll bring you guys some info there. Sucks to hear because although we gave them crap about the fact that we had tractor parking at the barnyard for them. We really did take a lot from them as far as when we were and asked them a lot of questions. They were very helpful with us getting started and answering some things that we had and giving us some good advice. But they have folded. But anyways, Ryan Camerata was the man of the match in that game. And then we got big game James Nair, who's our backup goalkeeper. Then we go into our Stegman's guys. So guys that were within the mix for City, but ended up rounding out our first division, our championship first division Stegman City team. And that's Nick Hutton, Landy Matson, who from a veteran standpoint, we couldn't ask for a better guy to step in and kind of help shoulder that load. Evan Wright and Ace, who is the head men's coach at Minneapolis South, where we played our games at the Barnyard.
Oh yeah. So the thing is that, like you mentioned with Brian Chapman, we have also managed to sneak some transfers, and that's in air quotes, from the United Reserves, right?
Yes. Technically, with the paperwork that was submitted, they're all registered within the PLA. So the PLA kicked off today. These guys would be our roster. So PLA contracts did run out at the end of the season for the players who went off to college, but the players who are still within the mix, who are sticking around, were eligible to completely sign on again. Those contracts all did lapse because we aren't locking guys in, because we're big fans of if players are going to move on to a higher level. So we're let everybody have the opportunity to do so. Right as of right now, these guys are ours, and if they choose to want to go back in the summer to United, they are free to do so. But maybe they like what they see with City, and they want to get in the mix for next year with us. But Miles Stockman-Willis, who we had mentioned, was in camp with us. Martin Brown and Abai Habat, and obviously Chapman, who we mentioned, and then Whitney Brown, who was a late addition, which is Martin's younger brother, who was on the PLA Team of the Year for our conference. So we brought in a really last minute, kind of within a few hours before we had to submit the paperwork, a really excellent striker to throw into the mix to kind of try to work for that, that game day roster.
Yeah, and so if you're counting, that means there are 3 members of the Premier League Team of the Year, West Division Team of the Year, actually, on this Minneapolis City roster.
4. There's R3. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. I forgot.
Yeah, I was thinking Abdallah Ba. No, he's back at school still.
We'd love to have Abdallah back in the
So Wex, Elder, and Whitney Brown, now a Minneapolis City SC player. That's pretty sweet.
Not a bad spine,
we've got some talent. We've got some talent on this damn team, and I think we're going to need it.
We definitely are. But we did round out, with the United players, and really, I think took, the majority of their better players from their roster. At least guys that are locked in within Minnesota that live here.
Yeah, but we've also got some new faces, some new guys, and they are plentiful. We won't go through all of them right now, but there's really one that I want to talk about in particular, and I think you do too, and that is the mystery. That is KP Torre, correct?
Yes. Recommendation of both Brian Chapman, Nate Engel, and Matt Elder, like, you got to sign this guy. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is. So a lot of the guys outside of the United Reserves, we'll get into a few of them, a little sight unseen, except for the fact that in waiting to do the podcast today, I pulled up a lot of game tape on a couple of these guys. But one that I couldn't find was KP, who his resume reads as such 2008 Mr. Soccer in Minnesota. I scored something like 32 goals his senior year. Was Gatorade Player of the Year, like we mentioned, Mr. Soccer, and then was up for National Gatorade Player of the Year. Everybody kind of threw a scholarship at this guy, but he chose to go the professional route right out of high school. Had a brief trial with Borussia Dortmund. Yes, that's the Borussia Dortmund. But then that didn't pan out for him in Germany. Then went on to play for the Chicago Sockers, and then trialed and was released by the Vancouver Whitecaps in 2010. So,
sorry, did you see the Chicago Sockers?
Yes, it is it's a club system in Chicago.
Huh.
Youth system, and then semi-pro, amateur ranks from a men's perspective.
I just feel like they could have picked a better name.
Well, there's also the Chicago Magic, and then they combined to be the Chicago Sockers Magic for a while. And then the Chicago Fire came in and was like, let's just go by the Fire. So I believe there's still some Chicago Sockers and Magic teams out there, but the team, they used to be when I was playing youth soccer, they were the clubs to play with in Illinois. And then obviously the Fire came in, and I actually briefly coached a satellite team in Milwaukee for the Chicago Fire before I moved here.
Oh.
A kids team. But anyways, so back to KP. Then like I said, he was released by the Vancouver Whitecaps in 2010. And then from 11 to last year, played with the Minnesota Twin Stars. And then finally this past year playing professionally in Indonesia, which I don't speak Indonesian, so I can't tell you the name of the team. There's a lot of characters and a lot of lines and squiggles and whatnot. So we'll have to just say he played professional soccer and got paid for it in Indonesia. So we'll find out more when we meet the guy. But from a pedigree standpoint, everything I see on paper, the guy is very much a mystery, but knows how to play soccer.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of stinks that this guy hasn't really stuck with a club at this point. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it's not reflective of, the kind of player he is. It sounds like he's extremely talented. It's just a matter of never really found his niche, never really found the place to be successful. But
right,
I guess he's still getting paid for it. So what are you going to do, right?
Right. I mean, it's got to be tough for a Liberian immigrant to come over to the United States after like civil unrest in his country when he's a kid, and probably seeing things a kid shouldn't see. Right.
Yeah.
Then coming to a place like Minnesota, a very welcoming state where he becomes a soccer standout. And then at 18, trying to go and trial with Dortmund. It's got to be tough, and it takes a certain person to be able to do that. And it's tough. It's hard. And a lot of players try it, and a lot of players aren't as successful as others. So, it's not to say that there's an attitude thing or anything like that from what I've been told, he's a great guy. It's just how the cards are dealt, and that's the hand you have, and you just do with it what you can. So welcome to the team, KP.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So he's joining us from the team that he's joining us from is called Persik. I can't even pronounce this. It's right? Impossible to pronounce. It's not really. Persik Kediri. So they are an Indonesian team. They play on the island of Java.
Ooh. Great coffee.
Yeah. So
definitely a mystery. Not anymore for us. We'll be seeing him on Sunday when training starts. But the others are Tom Corcoran from Saint Scholastica. He's currently still in college, out of eligibility for the NCAA. Comes by way of England. So we have an English accent on our team, which must make us good. But very well decorated Division III player. Joey Gustafson, who was the captain and an All-American at UW Superior, as well as Chase Carey, who's graduated and out of college, but played most recently in college with UW Superior. And then Charlie Adams, who, again, all these guys were very decorated Division III players outside of the Twin Cities area, but within Minnesota. And Charlie Adams was at Gustavus. So that rounds out our team.
Well, John, I think I'm excited to see him in action. I think they're going to start training pretty quickly here. Am I correct?
We start on Sunday,
okay.
actually. So we're going to get majority of the guys will be there on Sunday, but we're going to be twice a week up until the 17th, which would have been our game day. But we're in the works right now of having our Stegman's free beer night event at the NSC, which we've done for the past 5 years. Fundraiser event for charity. We get some free beer out there. We put on a game. So we don't know who we're going to play yet or the details, but that will be coming our next podcast. So fans will be able to start planning for that on the 17th. So mark your calendars now. There will be a game at the NSC before a Minnesota United game. So book your travel and your stay up in Blaine. I'm sure there's a beautiful hotel somewhere nearby so you can get nice and responsibly twisted off of a free Summit suds.
Yeah. That's exciting, man. So let's get into a new segment that I think we'll occasionally do during the off season when we do get to hang out together. And we want to catch up with City players at their school. I'm going to call it City at School. But before we dive in, John, have you heard this thing being proposed out of Maryland? The Maryland soccer program, Maryland soccer coach is proposing that the NCAA go to a year-round soccer schedule instead of just the fall schedule?
Yes, that I have heard that. It's actually been in the works for about 2 years now, and I think it's finally gained traction. And I think it's a good idea. It's good for soccer in the States because there's nothing but just negative publicity around college soccer, specifically now that academies are year-round and you're getting into professional systems with MLS teams earlier. There's been a knock on college players as opposed to guys that are those homegrown talents like we had mentioned in our MLS segment today. Mm-hmm. But it basically how it's good for soccer is more time to develop. Instead of truncating a season within the fall, there'll now be a fall season, a winter break like there are in some Euro leagues, and then a spring season before then obviously getting out of school. So more time to develop. Less travel. I mean, there's so many games packed in that area. In that article that was in the Washington Post today, you mentioned Maryland University.
Yep.
Something like they played like 7 games in 10 days last
Yeah, they're saying
year.
Like it's not uncommon for teams to play 3 games a week.
Yeah.
It's a college team, and that it's excessive, and obviously fatigue starts to set in, and you're just not going to get the best out of your players.
Right. So then that also kind of goes to my next point. Less miles on the tires. So players can actually spend more time recovering and training and getting better versus playing back-to-backs or every other day or what have you. So the other thing is, it mirrors what happens when you play soccer as a job. Time management from that perspective becomes a little bit easier because you have more time, but you also have obligations outside of your soccer life in your schoolwork, and it gives players an opportunity to miss less school time. It also gives the opportunity for the end of the year tournaments, whether it be league or NCAA tournaments, to not be in December in like Ohio where it's likely going to snow. So it'll be, beginning of May, they'll kind of start those instead of, beginning of November, which should be good for everyone from a fan perspective and a playing perspective. But it does cause things like summer soccer to change or to eliminate some players as to be involved, as they will be likely coming late or going back early, or not even coming at all because they want to stay at school and train with their teammates, which you see more of with older guys. Like, if you want to talk about our guys, like a Sam Forsgren may stay at school, going into his senior year to be able to train with his teammates, what have you. So that does happen. But how how it shakes out with players. I think it's good for the players, but it does raise an eyebrow to what happens with us from a city standpoint.
Yeah, hopefully it's not going to – I don't think it's going to affect us anytime soon. I mean, we've got a couple years. If this thing does end up passing, and I think the vote amongst the college programs will be in November, if I remember right. But if this thing does end up passing, it's not really going to take effect until 2019 or 2020. And really the effect that's going to have is it means I think more guys like Sam Forsgren are going to show up late to a team if possible. But I don't, as far as how it affects the rest of the league and how it affects kind of the play in the league, I think what's going to happen is we might end up with more of a Bavarians type model. And that might be okay for us, where we end up, getting guys a little earlier, developing them, and just kind of having them around and playing on our team. I just don't, I don't know where the talent would come otherwise for the start of the season, or where we'd be able to get guys to commit, for the second half of the season coming out. How we would get guys to commit for the second half of the season if they were coming out of college like that and they did want to stick around.
Well, I think there's two ways to look at it, Nate. There's the first one is what does our league do? I think what our league does is it starts a little bit later and then it ends later, right? Because they cannot turn a blind eye to the fact that majority of the guys that are going to be coming back from college are younger players that aren't going to be staying at school. We need to give them a place to play, and I know that we'll fight tooth and nail to make sure that we get those players, because that's a lot of our base is the guys coming home from summer. And in the United States, we need that opportunity for guys to play away from their schools. So we'll fight for that. But I think the other thing to look at is, do we eliminate how many teams we have in a division so that we, if we lose one, say we lose Minnesota United Reserves, do we replace them? Or do we know we're going to have a shortened season? Start late, end later, and eliminate the back-to-backs or the 2 a weekend or playing every weekend. So these guys do get a little bit of time off, but still give them a home to play in.
I also think that through my interactions when I've been tweeting at PLA, they've got some things in the mix, and they've got some things in the hopper as far as what their plans are going to be. I think, besides it seems like if anything, they're going to grow though. So I don't really see them like not replacing a Minnesota United Reserves, but I do think that they will have to act somehow or another. But I don't know. I'm interested to see how they deal with it. I guess we'll have to see. Let's get back to City at School, like we wanted to do.
Yes, City at School, not to be confused with city schools.
So we've got a lot. Oh, sorry, but we've got a lot to keep our eyes out for. We've got guys playing all over the country, right? Mm-hmm. So we'd like the citizens and Minneapolis City soccer fans to do their part. If you're going to catch a game, or if you see an intriguing box score, be sure to send it our way. Tell us what you thought about the guys. Send us the highlights of their brilliance. Because, right, John, we've got guys all over the country right now.
We do. We have Harvard and Jack Millar. We've got Lance Gaspar at Dayton. We have Trey and Steve Ian Smith at Green Bay. Will Kidd at Bradley. Matthew Guay at Valpo. We got Samo at Messiah in Pennsylvania. We got Sam Forsgren at Northwestern. Max at Louisville. Duncan at UCLA. Goose at Indiana, Abdallah at Post out east, and oh my God, they're everywhere. Division I and Division III players for everyone.
Which is good. So the first game I want to talk about is Bradley versus Notre Dame. It's a game that happened last weekend, and it was a 1-0 win for Bradley as the youngest team in the Missouri Valley Conference beats a nationally ranked Irish team.
Mm-hmm. And Will Kidd did not participate in that game. He did, however, participate in their previous game. But Bradley's a team to keep your eye out for. Like you mentioned, youngest team in the MVC, but also one of the youngest teams in the country, and they're returning something like 18 players, Will was saying. So definitely someone to keep an eye out for, and definitely will get playing time. Like I mentioned, he played in the first game, but keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, and I know this weekend they're out in Washington. They're playing a tournament at Gonzaga,
Ooh,
I think
those eggs.
not Utah State, but it's some Utah team that I've never heard of before.
It's almost like we could pull it up on the internet, but we don't have
We
enough
could,
time.
but meh. The other game this weekend of note is Valparaiso against Notre Dame. Notre Dame continued its tour through Indiana and Illinois, and it was a 1-1 draw for this Valpo team that is pretty much ready to enter the regular season. They played 20 players. 20 players got minutes, which is pretty crazy. John, you watched this game, right?
Yeah, I did. I was able to kind of check in a little bit while I was at work. It started at 4:00, so it was like, I'll just throw it on the other monitor while I'm finishing up work. And I think a couple things to take away from it. Yeah, they played a lot of players. Notre Dame is really good, and they're nationally ranked. But as far as Valpo goes, I think Matthew Guay probably is looking for a guy like Wexler and Sam Plaza to be feeding him, because no offense to Valparaiso by any means, but the central midfield pairing that was behind Matthew, he kind of played a withdrawn striker for about 65 minutes. He didn't get the whole ball a whole lot, and a lot of wasted passes. So I'm actually going to be trying to go to Green Bay when they play against Green Bay to try to catch 3 city guys in one match. But Matthew's going to have a tough senior year at Valpo, but he's the guy. He's their linchpin. You can tell they try to go through him, and they had another forward that he played off of that was a transfer that was pretty good. But that was good. Good to see Matthew. Weird to see him wearing a different color.
Yeah.
But good for Matthew. I tweeted out a picture of my computer screen and gave him some love on Twitter. But yeah, then there's Loyola. They tied Western Michigan 0-0, and then they turned around and beat Goose at Indiana, number 15th ranked Indiana, and featured both Connor and City's own Swiss Army knife Ike Forsgren. Not a whole lot of time for those guys, but Goose actually was injured, so still some I think repercussions from his knee injury that he picked up at regionals that put him out for the rest of the year for us. Wasn't featuring for Indiana. Did make the traveling roster. I did chat with him a little bit, but didn't see any minutes. But Ike and Connor got some minutes. Look for them to get a little bit more. You could see actually when it was a lot like City. They came in and they brought the energy, and it was like, okay, they're actually playing for something. Where the guys that they replaced were just kind of like, whatever, it's preseason, man. So to kind of continue down the list here, UW Green Bay played Cardinal Stritch out of Milwaukee, and that featured a 90-minute shift for Old Faithful, Captain Trey. And then Ian Smith, the true freshman, got 30 minutes off the bench. And I actually think that from everyone that I've talked to, at least the freshmen that are going into school, whether it be Goose, who was injured, or Duncan, who's fighting an uphill battle, being one of the youngest guys in a goalkeeping room of 5. Steve looks like a guy from a freshman perspective, outside of a guy we forgot to mention, which was Luke Hackinson, who's started for Creighton over the weekend. I think he'll get the most minutes out of any of the true freshmen that we have, but I think Steve will get the second most. I think he found himself a good niche at Green Bay, and he's the type of player who is going to put his head down and work. So good luck to both of those guys coming in from a freshman year's perspective. But we'll be posting a list of all the players in college and links to their program websites soon. Definitely follow on Twitter, the parent club at MPLS City SC. We'll be feeding information as guys play. I know we got Dayton's playing soon, so Lance will be featured in that game, I believe, this week. As is Green Bay is playing this week again. So a lot of these games are streamed on Watch ESPN, so you can kind of, if you have a cable subscription, you can log on and check those guys out.
Yeah, man. I think, there's no guarantee that these guys will be coming back to play for City, but I think, some of them will. Mm-hmm. Hopefully most of them will. And it's just an awesome opportunity to stick with them and to have, because we all had our favorites this summer. And right. So it's, I just want to, part of part of having great young talent on Minneapolis City was being able to see where they would go and how they grow up, and this is just the next step in that. So hopefully people are excited to watch them play.
Right. One guy we forgot to mention too, Kevin Hoof at Western.
He's Western Michigan.
Northern Michigan.
Northern Michigan. That's right.
Yep. Best hair north of the Iron Range. I think I tweeted something like that out when he posted his pictures, his team photo this year. But yeah, he featured as well. So so many guys, so little time.
That's right. Well,
speaking
John,
of time.
Yes, the podcast is going to be taking a break, really, while you head to the training ground with our Uncanny Crows and help them get ready for the October 22nd match against some chumps from Michigan or another. Mm-hmm. But we're going to be back, you and I, the week before with a preview, and of course, all the details that you, the fan, will need to come help cheer on your Minneapolis City, right?
Right. Well, maybe we'll try to get on a little earlier so we can publicize that training match before the Minnesota United game on the 17th. But that's TBD, folks. So if we don't hit the airwaves again, definitely check us out on Twitter. Nate will be going into how to get a hold of us, and details will follow.
That's right. And don't forget about the Summit Backyard Bash that's coming up Saturday, September 10th. Features Bob Mold, some local bands, Bully, Dem Atlas, Bad Hats. You got to go online to summitbrewing.com to check out those tickets and get some more information. It's going to be a good show, going to be a good party.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, Nate, but if anyone is interested in volunteering on behalf of Stegman Soccer Club and Minneapolis City for that event, they can email us at the email address you're going to be talking about shortly, and we can get you on the list. There's many jobs that they need good volunteers to do. You get in for free. You get a sweet T-shirt. You get a couple beer vouchers for when your shift's over. I believe shifts are 2 hours apiece, so you can turn up and do the early one or the late one, whichever one you want, and enjoy a couple suds and then and help out on behalf of the club. So definitely email us if you're interested this week, and we'll get you hooked up with the right folks.
You can email us if you want to get a hold of us at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. You can tweet at us. You can tweet at the club at MPLS City SC. You can tweet at me at Mexinate. You can tweet at John at Johnny Business. That's 2 N's, 2 Z's, and 2 S's. And that is all for this week. As usual, I am Nate.
And I am John, and we all can agree that no one likes Gordy Gerson.
And here are our guys, Go Get 'em Tiger, to walk us off into the sunset. Have a good one.
Peace.